What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless engineer, and typically I'm critically analyzing apologist claims to give you the best arguments and information so that you can stand up and use your voice. Today is a little bit different of a video. I have gotten into a collaboration with a number of creators in our very secular and atheist space here on YouTube, and we've come together to do a number of response videos, really quick response videos for each creator, but each creator is going to be linked down below in the description. So if you like any of the creators, all the creators really, in this video today, then definitely go down there, hit them up, subscribe to each one. First, we're going to start off with my video in this series, and then we're going to proceed from one creator to another. So I hope that you like this compilation of all the great voices here in the atheist space on YouTube. So if you want to fuck around and find out what creators you might be missing out on here in the atheist space on YouTube, then please stay tuned. Today, we're going to hear from J-Dubs, or J. Warner Wallace. He is going to be refuting this notion that Jesus is just a copycat of Mithras, which I will, interestingly, agree with him on it.
Like the question when someone says that Jesus resembles Mithras. Really? I offered a series of objections, right? That Jesus sounds a lot like Mithras, born of a virgin, attended by angels, announced by a star, visited by the wise men who had 12 disciples. All those things I told you.
So it's interesting to note here that I agree with J. Warner Wallace when he says that those things are not connections between Jesus and Mithras. I totally agree about that. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't connections between Jesus and Mithras. It's just that those things that he listed right there were not. And I caution anybody saying that he was just a copycat, like Jesus was just a copycat of Mithras or any other figure in history. Christianity originally started out as a mystery cult, and one of the ways that mystery cults are created is that they syncretize two other beliefs together in order to get the third one, Christianity. And the two that were synchronized were Hellenistic mystery cults and Judaism. They synchronized them together in order to get, Christianity. And due to that syncretization of those two ideas, you end up with certain aspects of Christianity that are also present in other mystery cults. And that has caused some people to say, oh, well, Jesus is just a copycat of this other person, or this other figure, rather. And for Mithraism, one of the things that was copied, or rather syncretized, into the Jewish faith in order to get Christianity is this initiatory baptism. There have been recovered paraphernalia of the Mithraic cult that essentially is equivalent to graphic novels. These graphic novels would be recounting the Gospel of Mithras. Now, Mithras did have a miraculous nativity, and Mithras did drag a bull to a cave from which life sprang out of the blood of that bull, and then Mithras consumed the bull's flesh. Mithras also ascended and was exalted. That's another aspect of Jesus that is similar to these other mystery cults. So you've got the blood being life, and then you've got consuming the flesh, right, as part of a ritualistic thing for the cult. There's the baptism that represents this death and then new rebirth. And then, of course, there's the ascension and exaltation of the savior figure, Mithras. So there are connections to Mithras, but you have to know what those connections are, how they factor in, and how it's not really copying, but it's syncretization.
For example, the 12 disciples. Well, you typically see Mithras surrounded by the 12 signs of the zodiac.
I would not make the explicit connection between Jesus and the Zodiac or Mithras. It's more in this common shared cosmology that all of these groups were sharing at that time, because that is just what, people thought about the cosmos.
Hello, folks. I'm bored. Luckily, I have the entire internet at my disposal, and somebody out there thinks they can teach me how to astral project in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So let's give it a bash.
Astral projection. Let's do it. I'm going to teach you exactly how to astral project so you can travel to all of the craziest places in the universe, like here, maybe somewhere like here, maybe even somewhere like here.
Oh my god, we can finally travel to the AI-generated fantasy world of my dreams. I feel like if astral projection was real and worked this way, people wouldn't talk about it, because you'd travel all across the universe being disappointed by barren rock after barren rock. Okay, listen, there are some beautiful sights out there in the universe, but a lot of it is empty rocks. Some of these pictures look like stuff out of Valerian A. Loreline.
The first step is to find somewhere where you won't be disturbed for a long period of time. For most people, this is at night when they're going to sleep. For me, the best way to prepare is to relax the body and the mind through meditation.
Okay, I don't want to get ahead of the game here, but I have a feeling that what she's about to teach us is how to dream. You can close your eyes and go to bed and use this amazing device called your imagination to picture yourself flying around a unique universe of exciting things. Is astral projection going to turn out to be closing your eyes and using your imagination?
Then I'll either have it completely quiet or listen to something that kind of aids in the experience. Highly recommend searching 8D music on YouTube. And now here is the key. Allow yourself to almost fall asleep. The goal is to feel as physically relaxed as possible so as to trick your body into thinking that it's asleep while maintaining a wakeful mind.
Hang on, she hasn't said how. How do I do that without just falling asleep? When I'm in bed and I'm all sleepy and I close my eyes, then usually what happens is I go to sleep. Can you be that relaxed and sleepy and in bed, the place that you associate with going to sleep, and keep your mind perfectly alert? I feel like that's the crucial bit that needs the advice that she's not giving us.
And go where you feel pulled. Don't overthink it. Sometimes it's helpful to imagine a silver dangling rope hanging from the ceiling, and then attempt to grab the rope with your astral hand. Allow the rest of your body to follow. And then move and fly and travel anywhere in the astral realm. Almost anywhere. I'll have to do a video on that one.
Hang on, I thought we were exploring the known universe. What the hell is the astral realm? Wasn't that a Doctor Strange thing? I don't want to sound too disappointed, but these instructions basically amount to become really relaxed, go to bed, and don't quite fall asleep. If I was the kind of person that sat around thinking, hey, I'd really like to astral project tonight, this is the kind of thing I think I could have figured out on my own. I do wonder if a lot of these people who astral project, the ones that actually do experience something and then talk about it online, have learned to lucid dream. In a way, it's kind of sad. They're sort of diminishing their own creative abilities by putting this down to some metaphysical, spiritual experience rather than actually the power of their imaginations. Your brain is a wonderful, beautiful, creative thing that can conjure worlds within your very mind. I keep dreaming about organizing birthday parties, for some reason. If you are able to control your dreams in such a way that you dream about traveling around the universe, then that's on you. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's pretty cool, man. But it isn't astral projecting.
Hey everyone, JL here, and welcome back to Bridge the Divide. Today we've got a short clip of a couple of people asking if Jesus really was God. Now, assuming that these two individuals are actually Christians, that position would immediately tell us that they do in fact believe that their Jesus was their God in human form, and they're going to be supplying the evidence that backs up that claim. Or at least they're going to try.
If you hate Jesus, you can skip this video.
So I see Great Value JD Vance and Elizabeth Olsen have recently discovered the power of AI slop. Good for them, I guess. But to address their claim, no, I don't hate the Jesus character. However, what I do often hate are the irrational behaviors that the slave to that character mindset often inspires in some people.
But when rapture comes, where will you be?
Just gonna jump right to the end times, huh? It's always idle threats with you people, because you consistently fail to realize that for me to actually be concerned about that particular event in your mythology, I would first have to know that your God actually exists, and I would need to know that the various weirdness written in your particular cult manual was true. That's two propositions that need to be addressed before I will ever have any concern about a magical cloud wizard whisking me away on a sky journey.
The devil wants you to be in hell.
Also just as nonsensical.
Because of Jesus, he won't succeed.
Still haven't given any rational justification for believing any of it.
My child, lift your heads. For I say to you, the hour is unknown, but my return is certain. Matthew 24:42.
You can quote your particular cult manual all day long. There exists no rational justification for me to care at all about what it says. Just as you see no rational justification to concern yourself with the supernatural claims within any other text that isn't your own. I mean, I don't see you guys sweating over Ragnarok, and if the only tools at your disposal to try and convince others of what you believe are fear tactics, you can pretty much guarantee that's because someone else made you just as afraid as they were. Because when people are afraid, it is far easier to exert control over them. It's what's referred to as psychological and emotional manipulation, and it's just one of many control tactics. Control tactics that we often see in abusive relationships. Fortunately for us, all it takes is a little education and a willingness to be intellectually honest to shut down these tactics completely. And in doing so, you will be better equipped and prepared to protect yourself and others from charlatans, conmen, and grifters. Be safe, be excellent to each other. I'll see you next time.
When you guys were kids, did you ever like go through doors that were automatic when they open? Like, pretend like you were using your magic powers to open them yourself, like you were a wizard, Harry. Because that's a thing that people do when they're children, right? They pretend that they have magical powers that can force things to move. Oh wait, I forgot about the Holy Spirit. You can do it if you invoke Jesus. Fall over. Oh my God, this would be so fun. It'd be so fun to go to something like that and then literally be the only person standing like, what the hell is wrong with you? More crazy. Oh my God, the lady falling over in the background. Oh my gosh, is she having an actual seizure? Like, should we call EMS? Someone dial 911. I mean, there's literally a lady on the floor like this. Like, someone help her. But the best is yet to come. I feel like I shouldn't be watching this. Is this allowed on YouTube? Okay, I'm gonna keep playing it. Someone commented that it looks like their cat about to throw up, and now I can't unsee that. I have 4 cats. This is accurate. Maybe every time a cat throws up, it's just the Holy Spirit possessing them to like expel the demons. Like the text on screen makes it so much worse. Is she like fanning her? Gotta cool it down after all that. Sometimes you just need someone you fully trust to give you a safe space to release and let go. Yeah, it does seem like there's been a release. I hate to break this to you guys, but people do not have magical powers. Okay? You can't actually make the doors open. You can't actually make people fall over. If you're convulsing on the ground, maybe you should get that checked out. And if you're having a literal moment like this last woman, whatever floats your boat. I don't want to kink shame. I would say y'all need Jesus, but I would maybe change that to therapy. People will do anything but go to therapy. They'll do this shit. They'll go to crystal healing. They'll do all the things. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. And I compel everybody watching this video to like it and have a fantastic day. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
I think it's really odd to talk about I have the responsibility to squeeze meaning out of life. Responsible to whom?
I don't know, man. Probably to yourself. That is, if you care about your life having any meaning. And that's kind of the point. I mean, even if you think that it's some supreme supernatural guy giving you meaning, it's still actually you taking that meaning as your own.
Okay, well, then in that case, I would say, why is it any different whether somebody acts responsibly or irresponsibility? Your destiny is unrelated to how you act. It doesn't make any difference.
The fuck are you talking about? So if we give destiny a tangible, grounded definition, your destiny would be the things that happen to you. Whether you think it's predestined because God or because physics, or that you think it's not pre-anything, eventually, whatever happens to you, happens to you. How the fuck do your actions not contribute to that? In all 3 cases, they absolutely do, you absolute numpty.
For example, you said Russell campaigned against the use of nuclear weapons. Mankind will be wiped out anyway in the heat death of the universe. It really ultimately makes no difference whether mankind ever existed or not, whether one campaigned against nuclear war or one just lived in self-indulgence and hedonism. So
yeah, that is true if you completely and utterly ignore the here and now. Everything is ultimately meaningless. Wah, God must be real, because that makes me sad. But the thing is, it is meaningful today and the foreseeable future, and even in the infinitely slim possibility that we somehow escape that fate. Even ignoring all that, it feels bad to be shit. We literally can't help but care. It's almost like some kind of process made us that way.
it does seem to me that Heidegger is quite wrong here, that Sartre and Camus and others were correct, that ultimately, in the absence of God, life becomes absurd. There isn't any objective meaning to life, and the little meanings and projects we invent to fill our lives are really just pretense. They're not really objective.
And it, of course, cuts off there, but completely ignores the fact that objective and subjective aren't opposites when it comes to how meaningful they are. They are just different ways to come to that meaning. Subjective doesn't mean bad or wrong. It's just different. And, correct.
Hey, atheists! I have a question.
Well, you've come to the right place. After all, there are 10 of us here, so what's your question?
What's the purpose of life?
Does there have to be a purpose to life, though? I'm pretty sure you can enjoy life without having a purpose, and if that's not fulfilling enough for you, well then just create your own purpose.
You live. You die. Now what?
Well, a funeral probably, because that is generally what happens when people die.
Is that it? How does that work?
Well, no, that's not it, because there are other people that exist and are living lives, and once you're gone, their lives will just continue, hopefully. But I think the point that she's missed here is the whole idea of you live and then you die is a massive oversimplification. Yes, you live and then you die, but there's a lot that happens in the you live part. There's a lot to enjoy, there's a lot to experience. It's more than just the act of living. And you get to do with it what you want. If you want a purpose, well, then you can make your own purpose. You can have goals that you can work towards, or you can just try to enjoy yourself. And as far as I can tell, you don't get to do any more living once you die. That's left to everyone else. So do with that what you will.
People evolve seamlessly from a single cell. There's no chain in the fossil record of that at all.
So here we have a clip of Tucker Carlson being Tucker Carlson, which is just the worst. And in this clip, he's saying that there isn't an unbroken chain of fossils from amoebas to humans, and that equates to there being no evidence of evolution whatsoever. Now, this is just a clip, but in the full segment, which I reacted to on my channel a little while ago, he goes on to flatly deny that the fossil record is in any way compelling by not only denying that many fossils exist in the first place, but also by totally mischaracterizing what the fossil record is and what it can tell us, all in order to prop up the premise that there simply is no evidence for human evolution at all. He's just using one wrong idea to justify another wrong idea so that he can jump to a final conclusion that's ultimately just wrong. It's exactly the kind of thinking that you would expect out of someone who spent their entire career as a magician whose one trick was to turn mundane news stories into white supremacist dog whistles.
We have a moral obligation to admit the world's poor, they tell us, even if it makes our own country poorer and dirtier and more divided.
Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of, semi-literate primitive monkeys. But I just have zero sympathy for them or their culture, a culture where people just don't use toilet paper or forks. White men have, they've contributed some, I would say, like creating civilization and stuff. I think they've done a pretty, I don't know, whatever.
The whistles got woo! From this point in the clip, he goes on to use the word theory in several different ways, all within the same breath.
You hear them make reference to evolution because the theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true, but Darwin's theory's totally that's why it's still a theory almost 200 years later. And I can't even guess. I mean, I have my own theories on it, but they're not proven.
What are your theories?
God created people and animals.
Demonstrating that he either doesn't know the scientific definition of the word theory, or more likely, that he just doesn't care, because he knows that the soundbite of using the word theory dismissively is all that it takes to connect with people who don't understand science.
The theory of adaptation is clearly, obviously true. Darwin's theory's still a theory. I have my own theories on it.
So this theory is obviously true. But this theory isn't true, which is why it's still a theory. But he has his own theory, which is intelligent design, something that, by definition, isn't a theory, and also has less evidence than the theories that he just glossed over, but we're gonna call it a theory anyway, and that means true again now.
I think what every person on Earth thought.
They didn't have computers. They didn't have a general understanding that we have today of the process.
Do you think we understand more now?
Yes.
Really?
You don't think that we understand more today?
We understand way less. We understand so little that we're actually sitting here allowing like a bunch of greedy, stupid software engineers in Northern California to like flirt with the extinction of mankind. We should pause and ask, is the machine we're building worth having?
So now we get to the really silly part, which also happens to be the end of the clip, in which Tucker goes on this weird little rant about software engineers, during which, in the full clip, he makes sure to point out 2 times that those evil, hypothetical software engineers don't have any children.
We understand so little that we're actually sitting here allowing like a bunch of greedy, stupid, childless software engineers in Northern California to like flirt with the extinction of mankind.
Because pointing out who's having children is really important when you believe in racist conspiracy theories like the Great Replacement.
When you want to woo-woo, it's that woo-woo.
The best part about this clip is that it is a very accurate representation of the entire interview. In under a minute, it tells you everything you need to know about Tucker's stance. He doesn't know what evolution is or how it works. He's either ignorant or deliberately dishonest about the evidence for it, and considering his well-known track record of being both ignorant and dishonest, it's impossible to tell which in this moment. And in the end, it all falls back on the usual motif of some culture war between the good, honest, hard-working, God-fearing Americans and the Silicon Valley leftist elites who just want to corrupt society and teach people science. It's a tale as old as time for Tucker Carlson. What an absolute dump.
I think I can demolish the atheistic argument permanently.
Can you, though? I'm creaky, by the way. Because what is the argument? How is not believing in a god or gods an argument? It's just lack of belief.
And it's a weird thing, because it's not like all of a sudden people are going to throw themselves at the feet of God in worship. It's like it requires a reconsideration of what we mean by belief. And I walked through some of it. It's like, do you believe in the good? Well, the difference between believing in good and believing in God is it's a very narrow difference.
Okay, so the difference between I will help an old lady cross the street, which is a kind thing to do, or good, and I will help an old lady cross the street because an eternal, invisible, cosmic judge with anger issues told me to, is a bit narrow. One is ethical, and the other one is celestial risk management.
Now, there are important differences, but it's still a narrow difference. And the thing is, if you don't believe in good, you're aimless. And if you're aimless, you're hopeless. And if you're aimless and hopeless, you're anxious and fractionated. And people can't unite in their beliefs. Like the alternative is not good.
So an atheist can't volunteer at a soup kitchen unless they first sign a doctrinal statement. If you don't believe in the capital G, good, you can't have goals like finish the laundry or not be a jerk.
Hello, Skeptic here, and we're about to find out if there's anything really wrong with a God.
Most atheists are atheists because there's something about the God of the Bible they don't like. They say if there were a God, if God existed, he would never, and then they go on to describe something in the Bible that he did that they don't like, or something in this world that they just can't imagine would ever happen if there were such a thing as an all-powerful, perfectly good God. And I'll admit, that there are plenty of things in this world that happen that I find difficult to reconcile with a perfect God.
I've been there, I've said that, and apparently you have too, but the difference is I don't then think a made-up God gets to do whatever it wants and add in God works in mysterious ways or whatever. If it was real, it should be held accountable, but since I'm not convinced of its existence, I just think that things suck sometimes.
They're certainly not the things that I would let happen if I were in charge. The God of the Bible is not the kind of being that a human being would ever invent.
Really, though?
R.C. Sproul, in his series on the holiness of God, makes that statement. He says, no human in his right mind would ever invent a holy God.
Really, though?
You get an understanding of the holiness, the terrifying nature of the holiness of God, and how it's the most dangerous reality in existence for a sinful human being. And you realize, no human would ever invent. If you're going to invent a religion, if you're going to invent a God, you wouldn't invent a holy one.
Which is why I invented Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe Leaf be upon her. No death, no killing, just pooping the universe into existence, and that is it.
The Bible writers who supposedly invented this God, they're the ones who supposedly made it up, complain about God being the way he is. So frequently in the prophets and the Psalms, the Bible writers have complaints. God, why are you doing this? How long are you going to do that? Why don't you do this? If they're making things up, why would they make up a God that they have so many complaints about?
Because they need to blame something. Folks just can't take accountability.
From listening to atheists talk, I get the feeling that the only kind of God they would ever believe in is a God who is exactly like Santa Claus.
Who is also very made up.
That's our culture's idea of what a perfect being would be like.
Well, not really, because if you misbehave, you don't get presents. What an arsehat Santa is, because he's then making the rules for what is and isn't good behaviour. If he was real, that is, when in reality, it's just lazy parents.
And the God of the Bible is most definitely nothing like Santa Claus.
Right. The North Pole exists, heaven doesn't.
Here's my point. All the atheists' arguments about how God doesn't exist because if he did, he would never do this, never do that. Those are actually strong arguments in favor of God being real and not made up, because people would not make up
a God like that.
And yet they did. And that is a terrible argument anyway, because I'm not convinced of the God. It really is that simple.
All right, heathens, I hope that you go down below in the description and you follow each and every one of these amazing creators that are part of our little community here on YouTube. And while you're down there following everybody, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you liked my part of this compilation. And as always, don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Bye, heathens.